What is up, my friends? Welcome, game changers and soul warriors. How does it feel to be in a dawn of a new era? How does it feel to be in a whole new world? Maybe you went to bed in one world and woke up in another? How does it feel? We are now free. We are now sovereign beings of light. We are now free. And it is important to embody that. It is very important to embody being free. Live as if we are free. Do not give your power away to anything other than yourself and your ability to create, because we have entered into the dawn of a new era, a dawn of a new day. Many of you know that we just went through summer solstice, and with the sun really reflecting into the equator line. When I activated the masculine pyramids, they were on the equator line. So I want to talk about what it took to get us into this new era. It didn't just happen. It's not something that was just provided. It took work to get here, right? It took work to get here. Lots of star seeds and light workers helping to raise the vibration and trying to wake up many, even though sometimes that's been a battle and futility. But I spoke the other day that we are at a precipice, right? We are at a precipice. We were at a big cliff of change, right? We needed to fly or fall. We were at a precipice. But I want you to understand that it took a lot of work to get there. You know how there are some people who say, love one, love one. What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, it's actually very real. Very real. And the battle was very real. And your battle is also very real. And some of you have been working through that battle. Some of you have chosen to grow as a soul, to rise as a soul, to come into the new era. Okay, so I'm going to show you some few things because it was actually a pretty rough journey. And those that rose with me tried to actually stop the journey. But my friends, I left no stone unturned. There was nothing left with shadow remaining on this earth. And all people must do, mankind must do, is heal out of their shadow to be free, to heal their karma, to be sovereign and free. Okay? But it's now, it's happening. We have reached that dividing line. The new earth is here to stay, and the portals have been set and like implemented, right? Like you can only get past them with a pure heart and a clear mind, because we are in the land of God again. It's been the return of the gods, right? God says it's not an apocalypse. It's the return of the gods. And the apocalyptic circumstances that you see is the earth correcting, things correcting back to what they're meant to be. I did that through activating the pyramids, clearing Mount Shasta, freeing Jesus' soul, and battling the union of my twin flame the whole way since 2019, 2020. And it was a battle I almost didn't survive. And my original DM did not. But it wasn't just about Jesus and Mary Magdalene. It was not. It was also about Sekhmet and Horus and Adam and Eve. And when I was battling, uniting with my twin flame, my twin soul, I didn't even know I was. Our souls were truly coming together. They had to come together on 3 different levels before that section of work was complete. That was the return of the gods. And that is why love won, because no matter what presented itself, I chose love. I still choose my DM, and I choose my new DM tenfold. Okay, so I have a new one I got to walk in. So that is truly why they say love won, because it really did. It took love. You have to choose love to rise above. Okay, so I'm going to show you that. And there was a lot of attempts to stop that journey the whole way. Okay, the whole way. All right, so let's go in here. I'm thinking it might be time for me to get a new computer, y'all. I really do. Um, it's, this one's a little bit old. Okay, so we have some stuff over here that I want you to say. Because this is what they are calling the end of Kali Yuga. A phase of reality is closing. We're going into they call the golden era, the golden age of being, a new way of being where your heart is your creator. You create from the heart space. You are aligned to the wholeness of the one again. That's the whole point. You have to be reborn into the wholeness of yourself from all lifetimes. That's why healing all karma is the necessity. It's not a maybe. And when I tell people that, they don't always want to hear that. You can't rise without it, my friends. You cannot. And I guarantee you that. For if you actually looked at the path to righteousness, there's so much healing that is involved. So much healing that is involved. It is a rebirth, right? Like you heal so much that we are rebirthing into a new way of life. And when I did all of the work, some of it I can't, everything I did through the nudges of God and my soul path. So everything I did was not just me going, "Ooh, I'm going to do that." It was hearing a do this, and I did this. Okay. Um, and so that's that's what we did. So when I got to a certain point, God was having me post certain things on YouTube, but not everything because, it's not just for those who want to bring their shadow into it. And trust me, people rising with me tried to do that. And even my first DM did not choose to rise out of the shadow. He actually took off with the fall enduring it. And it took me a whole year to battle for that soul back. It was a very painful battle. And God called it the deep blue sea battle. So I was battling the deep blue sea. And his name was David. And if you read the Bible, the Star of David we've called back. David comes up quite a few times. Waking David, the bride of Christ, all of those kinds of things. Okay? So the entire path to righteousness is like, you're talking like 7 months of healing, if not more. You have to remove all of the matrix. And that's what it is. And it's also bringing down Christ's light through the angel rays, resurrection of Christ, taking us into 7D, around the equator. These were the masculine pyramids, okay? And we are in the center of one eclipse to the other. And I talked about this. Day 3, 1, 2, and 3 of birthing the new earth were playing out right now. And we are in the center of the two eclipses, which is the sun and the moon, coming together, bringing down and through Christ's light. The masculine pyramids were at the equator line. That's significant, especially for this switch in seasons, the sun activating the equator line. So it's like the sun and the moon doing work together, the sun and the moon coming together to change the earth. We are in the Kali Yuga phase, okay? Closing of where, let's read this. I don't listen to these times because they've been off as it is, but you can tell that people were tuning into the shift, okay? Because those who are in their heart center feel it more. They can read it more. If you can read the Akasha records truly, you can see these things. So collectively, we are closing an old book and opening a new one. This will bring a shift in our focus from chasing material things to valuing spiritual and deeper aspects of life. So we come into the spiritual side of life. We are no longer detached from our soul, from the other side. We're turning a significant corner where our thoughts and actions will lead to meaningful and heartfelt experiences. It's a time to explore what truly matters at heart, beyond material possessions and success, and to connect more deeply with others. Yeah, so we should be, right? Not judging, but there's still a lot of judgment present. There's still a lot of people acting from their wounds and expectations and fears, and you can't do that and rise. You truly have to let go of the matrix. You need to be the sovereign being of light. Okay? So the end of the Kali Yuga phase in the dawn of a new era, the golden age, the age of Aquarius, so many names. I call it New Earth. Because I didn't just rebirth Atlantis, I took us further than that, right? So we have the portal of the Nile. I talked recently about that being the final portal, and we are in the final phase. Okay? Undid the money matrix, the Sistine Chapel, all religion, Then closing down the portals. Undid the medical matrix, that's in here as well. Releasing old earth. Okay. You have to release all of these layers after you heal them. There's a lot to it, so it takes a lot. Birthing new earth. These are all, some of these are on my YouTube channel. Okay. They really truly are. And it's important to understand the journey because I don't just talk about these things. It was a very painful experience. I don't know. Let's just enjoy the. And it took all I had to make it there. But it really did take choosing love. No matter what came my way, I chose love. No matter what came my way, I chose my DM. I chose union with my DM. Now I'm going to show you this video as they erased this chakra energy 2,500 years ago. And now the lost divine masculine returns. I found this video a bit ago and I saved it because I need to share it. So I freed Jesus' soul by processing his death. I cleared Mount Shasta. Part 1, which was not of light at all, processed the um, I'm sorry, my mind just went blank. The Emancipation Proclamation I cleared also in that. So it kind of shows you how Trump became president now in today's world. And I told you he was going to. I told you I put protections around him. I told you they were going to attempt to assassinate him. I also told you that he was going to expose truths. And if you haven't been paying attention, he just released the JFK files. And the CIA broke out with a fight that day, my friends. Like literally. So it's all there. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you, and here we are. So anyways, then I began activating pyramids in Fiji and awakening up the god portals because this is the return of the gods. But I still didn't fully understand who I was and what I was doing yet. I started healing the sun. Okay, very important. These are all very important. Then I started undoing the false concept of the moon and the negative pull on the moon. There were multiple of these, though. In the path to righteousness, there is a lot of moon healings. Let me show you. There is a lot of moon healings that you guys don't see. Releasing the darkness of the moon. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. There's a lot of them throughout this entire healing thing. Okay, so the moon and the sun have been changed. They've been reborn, and then it was reborn again with my new DM. So it's very important to understand that. Then I started doing the undoing the false concept of time. I think I did that like 3 times, right? Then it was the female pyramids, which Fiji is also a female pyramid. The Sphinx, cleansing and activation. But here's this, okay, a dormant chakra system. So this is really important to understand. This was activating a dormant chakra system. Now, they erased this chakra energy 2,500 years ago. Um, it's actually more than that. It began with Adam and Eve, first taking down Eve and then Adam. There was much more of a battle than you realize. I'm actually writing a book about all of this, and I was told where the Garden of Eden was in the book, which you will find out in the book, and everything in the relation to Atlantis with the Garden of Eden, where all that was, the whole purpose of it, everything. Like our whole true timeline in the beginning is coming out in that book. It's quite amazing that I am writing as we speak. So God told me exactly where these things were. But not only that, in this one I processed where Atlantis was because it's where I died. And then I was reborn. Okay, so these are really important to understand. This is how we are going into this new era. It truly was undoing all the darkness. I left no stone unturned, not a single one, even through people trying to stop the journey. And my first DM journey not going as planned. Okay, so during this time, I was uniting with the twin soul. Now, remember, these things were happening to me. Like, I didn't understand it all. It was literally happening. And I was trying to process it, trying to understand, trying to listen to spirit with everything that I had. literally uniting with my twin soul, and I didn't even know I had one at first. And I met him. He was 2 doors down. We started dating, and then our souls went. And then once that happened, he took off with a fallen angel, and Spirit kept telling him, "Hey, you need to come be with her," and he didn't. Okay, so being attacked, and oh my God, it's clear now my love for you is deeper than the deep blue sea. God said I was battling the deep blue sea, and I didn't understand that at first either, but it was El Diablo. It was all the fallen. Okay, so I started clearing out the individual and collective shadow. This is very important to understand how the new era is coming about. It was a battle for my twin flame union on 3 different levels, not just one. And I did it all, and I cleared all of the matrix. I left no stone unturned, my friends, and I mean nothing. I found that out recently. God showed me my heart review pretty much. I left no stone unturned. So, the return of Christ, the return of the gods. This was when God married my DM and I. And I realized I was taking down a false goddess because that's what happened to Eve and Adam. A false goddess came in. And Jesus and Mary Magdalene were actually the first two that were, but I didn't know that was coming yet. Okay, so I was being attacked, and it was very, 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 very painful. It was physical, spiritual, everything. It was mental, and I spent a whole year battle of life for my other half, my soulmate, me. I choose love, and then one day God said, "Enough. A walk-in will come if he doesn't step up," and he was given like a week. And he still didn't do it because I won his soul back, but he still wasn't coming home. And he actually chose not to rise, which is when I got a walk-in DM, and that happened right here. Once that happened, I had already brought down the blood of Christ. Then I undid the Holy Grail. Okay, and that's when Jesus and Mary Magdalene had fully united, which was on our soul level. We had come together on that soul level. Then look at ascension phase, anchoring the moon, solar eclipse, okay, taking us into 7D, Pleiadian galaxy, and then came the masculine pyramids with my new DM, and the Nile, okay, clearing Mount Shasta part 2. Then I was able to kind of catch up, and then I just kept going, right? What the Ankh was compared to the cross. The Ankh is the true cross, and it broke when they killed Jesus and separated Jesus and Mary Magdalene. What the Holy Grail really was, how he really died, plays out on here. And that wasn't it, though. Then came Sekhmet and Horus, changing the north, east, south, and the west back to the north, processing the earth's death, and Jesus' soul finally uniting with my new DM, because the new DM was able to take that on. And then came Sekhmet and Horus. Horus returned. That soul fragment also went to my DM, because it's not just a man named Jesus. It was all the same souls, just different lifetimes. And you have to call back your fragments from each lifetime. How snakes played into it, it was a pretty cool story. Um, and then I just kept going. I undid the Sistine Chapel, the medical matrix. Like, I left no stone unturned. We undid religion, called back all symbols from the darkness to the light, and birthed new earth. Okay. And this is what I've been telling you we are literally going through right now on all my videos. And then we went through this equinox. And so it is the end of a golden era, or the beginning of a golden era, and the end of the darkness. Okay. The angels will walk amongst us, undoing the money matrix and the Sistine Chapel, and I just kept popping it all out. I told you Trump would win, and he did. I also told you that he was here to change and expose truths, and he is. I mean, not only did I do this stuff, I predicted the fires for this year, the airplane crashes I predicted, and more. And it just kept going. And I told you more fires were going to come, and they did. They just weren't as big. Here's all the masculine pyramid activations. Okay, so it actually took work to get there. Now, this is very important to understand this, and I want you to hear me very carefully, is that when I was first living right next with my first DM, we were together. People could see everything. They could see who I was much clearer. Those that were rising with me, and then the fallen decided to totally tear us apart, and they did a little bit. But I never stopped. I kept rising. And I got a new DM because my first one chose not to rise and he almost killed me, and God said he wouldn't make it either way. So I could have chose to stay that course and we wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have been here. But I didn't. I didn't like what he did to me. And so I chose a new DM, and I love him. Oh God, do I love him. But even after that, those that rose with me tried to stop the Sistine Chapel clearing, tried to stop our union even further. They tried to stop the work. And because of that, mankind, it also hurt mankind in how they viewed me and the work. And it stopped a lot of people from clearing a lot of their soul path. And so just because it didn't happen the way you think it did, the reasoning is all right here. But love won. And so now I want you to watch this. I found this video, and it's about they erased the chakra energy 2,500 years
Here's
ago.
how to put yourself in.
Now the lost divine masculine is back. And he has to do with the moon, and I with the sun.
Feminine,
Okay?
while
So
central
let's
energy
listen.
flow, one that brings wisdom, structure, and clarity, was deliberately erased from the spiritual vocabulary. This lost energy is the divine masculine, and with
Start that over.
told you that half of the chakra system has been erased from spiritual teachings for over 2,500 years. That an essential energy flow, one that brings wisdom, structure, and clarity, was deliberately erased from the spiritual vocabulary. This lost energy is the divine masculine, and without it, the matrix of the spiritual paths has been incomplete. The divine masculine is essential for those who walk the spiritual path of the heroine's journey. And when the divine masculine was forbidden, the heroine's journey was lost along with it. For centuries, we've been taught only half the truth. Modern spiritual teachings emphasize the divine feminine while ignoring the divine masculine. But ancient traditions understood that just as Father Sky nourishes the earth with rain that falls from above, the divine masculine descends through the chakras, bringing spiritual insight into physical reality. But why was this energy banned? When I first started studying spirituality, I had never.
Why he was banned? It wasn't that he was banned. You guys need to understand that. We weren't banned. Adam and Eve, and I got chills when I said that a lot. We were not banned. In the beginning, in Adam and Eve, and that was our final union phase. Um, the darkness, the fallen, decided they wanted the power of God, and they were angels, they were gods, and very powerful beings connected to that light. So they knew what to do. Mount Shasta was created. They stole the root chakra from Fiji. All of these different levels of things happened, okay? But Adam and Eve were ripped apart. They created it. It was a war. They battled and battled us, and they used a false goddess to entice Adam. They separated the divine masculine and feminine, creating an imbalance, which created blindness, which is the reason why choices were made. They used temptations and different things, but it was a battle much darker and much more difficult than you can imagine. And they knew how to do it. And in the Adam and Eve timeline, Adam chose a false goddess because he was blinded. All right, it's not like he was just like, oh, F that. He became blinded, the feminine became blinded, they became divided, and a false goddess was used to entice him. And then Eve ended up dying. I saw myself die at the hub of Atlantis. They were connected, and the white flame went out. Okay, then shortly after that, Adam also ceased to exist, because we can't live without each other. And then we came back in another lifetime, which was Sekhmet and Horus, and that was the sun and the moon, the god of the sun, the god of the moon. The god Ra is Sekhmet, Horus, okay, not Thoth. Horus was the moon, Sekhmet was the sun. And they took that apart. And they only give you half of sides of things. They actually embellished the masculine and took out the feminine, but it was a false masculine, not a true one. Okay, so in each layer, and then came Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and these are the same souls, just different lifetimes. And then the Holy Grail was connected. A religion was truly established, which was false. The Holy Grail was used, and that whole story is incredible. And they ripped apart our souls on all three levels. And so that's what happened. And that came out in my story, in my journey. That's what I was undoing and healing and returning back in alignment with my DM with. So love freaking won, okay? And you have to choose love the whole way. You have to come out of the matrix and into the new earth. So I wanted to correct that.
Even heard of the divine masculine. Every book.
I am a light healer. My academy is based in light healing. The things that I do is I'm a master healer of all modalities. I brought back all the flames. I am the white flame. And when you watch my videos over here of the dormant chakra system, when I died in Atlantis, the water came in. The floods were not caused by God, it was caused by the fallen changing the earth frequency and ripping apart Adam and Eve. And when I was healing the false dormant chakra system, listen to her title, they erased the chakra energy. So I found that to be very interesting because um, in this video, activating hidden dormant chakra systems, all of that new chakra system, I ripped out of the matrix and put in the new earth. The matrix, if you stay on that side, it becomes disconnected from the light completely. Okay? But in this one, when I died in Atlantis, I processed that. I had no idea it was coming. The white flame in my heart went out. You all have a fragment of that flame, but that is when we lost the white flame. It was actually removed from this planet. And since this one, I processed it back and rebirthed in it, the white flame returned. Okay? It's a big deal.
I would imagine a white light above my head, slowly filling my body, chakra by chakra. And this practice became my anchor. It calmed my mind and left me feeling centered for the rest of the day. And then one day, I came across a book that changed everything. It was called The Secret of the Golden Flower. Now, this is an esoteric Buddhist and Taoist text. And to my surprise, it described the energy as flowing from the top of the head.
Now that's interesting as well because recently the lotus flower came in and I came out of the center of the lotus flower and God called me the crest of God. And it was like the return of the lotus flower in its true essence. And that happened on the 1212 portal recently. The Great Solar Flash Prep, Portal of the Lotus, Eye of the Sun, When to Become One, Return of Christ. Okay? So this be real stuff, it's very real. Um, this has been my journey, and that's what the return of the gods is myself and my DM coming back into one on all levels that we were taken apart. And when the masculine and the feminine are out of balance, everything is affected. Okay, that's why you have a lot of mankind not being in balance in the masculine and feminine side. That's why we have a lot of things that were taken from the light, and why they use mankind to do it, because they take your power. That's what gives them power. Okay, so when you choose the matrix over God, you give your power to the shadow, and you can't do that anymore. So when I was clearing the Holy Grail, when I was bringing down the blood of Christ, I told you guys several times is that you cannot be duality anymore. You cannot give your power to the shadow, and you cannot bring the shadow into the light anymore. And we have now reached that precipice. We have now reached that spot. Okay? Um, And the divine masculine is back, but so is the feminine. We are back as one. We have combined fully into one. And this cannot be undone. And I had many people rising with me trying to stop that journey because they were giving their power to the shadow. They didn't want to heal. They didn't want to own their truths. They didn't want to clear what they had done. The Sistine Chapel, I was not supposed to do. Right before that happened, this person stole my path, actually went into my DM's energy and light, and I felt raped. It was gross, and it felt really horrible, and I was very upset. Very upset. And she was removed right from the path. Like, and spirit helped me heal that. And then eventually I undid the Sistine Chapel on my own, and I didn't know that was coming either. So this journey was even bigger than me, meaning that it was beyond my conscious understanding. I just knew that I needed to follow my heart no matter what happened. I knew that I was ready to do that, and I knew no matter what I had to sacrifice, it was worth the sacrifice for us to be done with a world that was painful, for the division, for the ripping apart of my DM and I. It's all been undone. And that is what they mean by love one. I found it very interesting that even she saw the lost divine masculine is back, except for he wasn't lost. They tore us apart. Every time we tried to come back and rectify, they tore us apart, and they tried to do the same thing this time. I fought so hard. My body even changed. Like when I got my new my new DM, he's my DM. When okay, let me describe that. So God literally you can watch it, but the day I got a walk in, I knew something was coming, but not totality of what. I didn't understand it. And I just go to the workshops, right? I do the work. I sit there, I call it in, I do the work, I show up. And God was there. And I felt my DM. I saw him sitting in a car or something. And I knew for a week he was planning this because I could hear the songs of like saying goodbye and things like that. And so I kind of knew that that's what he was choosing to do because he didn't want to own his truth. He felt that I deserved a new walk in. That's why he did it. Um, to each his own. Maybe I did. Okay. But I started to feel his heart stop, and it was very painful. Have you ever felt a heart attack? I literally was feeling his heart stop, and I knew God was doing it, and he knew it was happening, and he was like basically like accepting it and saying goodbye, and it was the most painful thing I've ever felt in my life, and it was scary. I kind of went into shock and I went into panic. And I felt the heart stop, and I kind of started panicking. And God said, "Come to focus. I got to continue." And so he had to bring me back to what we were doing because I went into shock. I went into panic. And then he ripped the soul out of my DM. I saw God do it. He ripped out his soul, ripped it in half. So the twin soul part, that is me, went into a new masculine. And the part that was David went into something else. Okay. So he was not the same. He did die. He went backwards in existence. I don't know what he became. God did not show me that. It was not for my I didn't need to know that. Um, became a fallen basically. And I got a new walk in, and then all of a sudden I had to like process. New music came through. I saw all his chakra system be created. I saw God create his new chakra system because we have an advanced chakra system from mankind. It's not the same, not the same at all. And I saw that. And then from that, like 3 months of becoming acclimated and processing to my new DM, and then the Holy Grail came through. Um, so when you realize that the return is all about the masculine and feminine coming back together, and that was my life, maybe a whole new perspective on who I am can shift for you because it should be respected. It was a battle, but that is why we're going into a new era. That is the return of the gods, okay? And then I opened up the God portal in Fiji on 2 different levels. There was 2 Fijis, but only one is on the channel. The other's in the path to righteousness. Um, so it's the return of the gods, okay? And it's the return of Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Sekhmet and Horus, and we returned on those three levels. Those are the three levels that my soul literally went like this on an internal with my new DM, and only with him. I did the first one with my DM, but he could not take on that soul fragment. My new DM did, okay? And what's interesting is the Adam and Eve soul fragment. I never saw that one come back to us. We just aligned at the soul level. And then I processed the snake in the garden and this huge ass snake. Like it was so large and it threw up a white rat as it was chasing me. So I had to process that and it came through in a dream and I was like, it took me 3 days to process that one. So the snake came out of my garden. It was chasing me and my DM just stood there and watched and let it happen. And then all of a sudden the snake stopped and it threw up a white rat. And I had to even look that up. I didn't understand it all at first. And it was the white rat was still alive and all slimy and slightly regurgitating. It was a lot to process. Okay, so the truth of the return has been right here the whole time. We are not separate from this existence. We truly are going into a new era. Okay, and I said the other day we're at a precipice. Then we went through this beautiful summer solstice, which is where the sun is like at the equator line. It's where, we switch into new seasons, the dawn of a new era. And now we have one more eclipse to bring in more Christ light. And all these solar flares, all of these things align with all the work that I've done. And it's changing the earth. And you must change with her in order to rise, because some of us are here to stay in a new way, okay? In a heart-centered reality, all connected, not controlled by the matrix, and you can't bring any of that in. Don't bring your ego. No competition, no judgment, no fear. Money can't be what guides you, but love should be. Don't look at me like I'm less than because I didn't get some huge mansion and become an influencer in this, because I was attacked the whole entire way. Why people didn't see me, I had somebody throw that at me, is because it takes both my DM and I to be together for everybody to see everything, the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra. And when my first DM took off with the Fallen, it hurt a lot of people. And then when those people that rose with me that had work to do decided to throw judgment and attack the journey, shun the journey and treat it like shit, basically, it also affected all of mankind. So the shadow did some damage. That's not a lie, but love won. And it is a dawn of a new era. Newness has begun. The new earth is here. So you must live through the new earth to rise into this era. Okay? And I loved this. I'm going to share this one more time. Let's listen to a little bit more of this video. Because I haven't watched this video. I don't watch them. God brought it up and I'm like, okay. So let's listen.
To the base of the spine, exactly like my.
Oh, and the other day I also talked about Kundalini awakenings, and some are false and totally dishonoring those. And so, yeah, just be careful what world you're focusing
My
in.
meditation. I was so excited, I bought an extra copy to take to my meditation teacher. I was eager to share my discovery with him, but his reaction was not what I expected. He wouldn't even touch the book, and when it was time to leave, he picked it up gingerly, using only the very tips of his fingers, like it was dangerous. I was bewildered, but I let the matter drop. I was the student, he was the expert, so I just let it go. So for over a decade, I continued to study the different religions, and each time I shifted to a new spiritual tradition, I noticed something strange. The fundamental spiritual teachings changed, but over time I realized that they weren't random. There were two distinct sets of teachings. One was about love and compassion, and the other was about peace and clarity. And that was my clue. The chakra system wasn't just about one energy. It was made up of two. And I remember.
Also, when I brought back the crystalline grid and I rebuilt it in Sekhmet time frame is when that finished and all the pyramids were activated and everything. Um, the crystalline grid, when I rebuilt that, it was my DMNI's light. So my Kundalini awakening went to activating the pyramids, my life force, rebuilding the crystalline grid. It was our light, our energy, our DNA. The new earth is our DNA, the masculines and mine. And it all went into it. The chakra system is his and mine together. It is the earth, and it is all the blueprint of all of mankind. That's the reality. And I love how she's seeing this. And religions were false. It's all one. Love through the light of the sun and the moon. The gods.
Writing in big letters in my journal across the whole page, there are two energies. Now, my studies of ancient cultures also confirm that there must be two energies. The ancient cultures required that there be both a high priest and a high priestess. And this verified that they followed two systems of spiritual development, two paths to enlightenment, one for men and one for women. So I started asking around about the divine masculine. It was like I became the bird in the Dr. Seuss book, Are You My Mother? Except the repeating question that I asked was, Do you know anything about the divine masculine? Or have you ever heard anything about the divine masculine? Most people responded that they had never heard of such a thing. And then there were a few that reacted as if I had spoken something forbidden.
So, you know how they call it the return, the bride of Christ? That's what God said I was. She comes down, awakens the masculine, which was David. I don't know my new DM's name though. I've only met my other one. I was in a relationship with my first one, and then I got a new one, and I should have met him, but I don't know who he is externally. Only internally do I feel him, and I love him. Um, I am lucky because I've literally, first of all, God chose my DM, which I already honor and respect and trust. That is the best thing I could ever imagine. And second of all, I got to fall in love with him internally, um, before I meet him externally. So it's a beautiful thing. Um, it is him and I that are the blueprint, the sun and the moon, Sekhmet and Horus, Adam and Eve, the DNA of the earth, all seasons shifting. Okay. But then I want you to understand something is that all gods are twin souls. Okay. Adam and Eve, twin souls. And when God said I was going to unite the twins, that's what he meant, but I didn't know that's what it was. So higher beings are twin souls, okay? But all of mankind, and I do mean all of mankind, should have that within them, okay? So I did this new course of aligning the divine masculine and feminine within, union of twin souls, but it's not just for twin souls. It actually aligns you to clear all that karma and unite internally. Both sides, masculine and feminine. So even if you're not a twin soul, you should have those two halves to unite. Back to the eye of Horus and back to the eye of Ra. Um, and the division of your soul. So even mankind
As if it was
had a
taboo.
divide.
It wasn't until much later that I discovered the shocking truth. 2,500 years ago, the divine masculine had been banned, erased from common spiritual vocabulary. And the other thing was, Carl Jung himself had also banned that book, The Secret of the Golden Flower, for his students. You see, Jung was the son of a minister, and he was fully versed in the spiritual theology. So he was following the same ban that had been imposed over 2 millennia ago. And that's when I knew I had found the answer. The Ida and the Pingala were the carriers of the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies. Both are essential. Yet for centuries, one had been erased. So let's put the puzzle of the missing energy together.
I wouldn't say one was erased. We both were. Because remember, it was a false goddess. You had a false masculine and a false goddess that took over. And remember when women were suppressed? So, yes, the divine masculine actually was a fallen. His soul was stolen. And if you watch the undoing of the Holy Grail, you'll understand that 100%. So they murdered Jesus. They used his blood to write a contract they called the Holy Grail, which enslaved all of mankind. And then they burned him. And then shortly after, Mary died. And I processed all of that lifetime. And those fragments made their way back to us. So when you understand that it wasn't just the masculine that was taken away, it was both of us. In Sekhmet, I processed my murder, and the crystal in the core of the earth was changed from darkness back to light. The pyramids were all activated, masculine and feminine. It was both. The first pyramids I was activating were all of the feminine pyramids. This is all connected. Okay? False concept of time, the veil of illusion. Here's the feminine pyramids, including the Sphinx, which is the portal of time. Opening up the God portal in Fiji. Okay? Back in 21. Freeing Jesus' soul. So this unplayed and unfolded the way it was meant to. And it is what you would call biblical, but it's just the truth of God. And what happened. And then here's the dormant chakra system. So this lady is tuning into something. Okay? She's seeing some things. But it's not the totality of it. The masculine wasn't necessarily banned. He made choices that took his soul. Okay? It was like selling your soul to the devil. And I came back, and I was murdered on each lifetime as well. So we were both taken out, and you were being controlled by a false system and the fallen. And that is the matrix blueprint and what God calls the Antichrist system. Okay. The masculine pyramids, the White House was demolished. And those are the ones at the equator line. And those came after undoing of the Holy Grail. And then Sekhmet and Horus journey. So it all makes sense. And this is the truth. And this is why we're in a new era. This is why it is the return of a new era. The DM and the feminine. And that is New Earth. And then in birthing the new Earth, our DNA, the new chakra system, the new crystalline grid, all removed from all darkness removed from it. And in order to rise, you have to release all of the darkness. Clear all of your karma because you're not innocent. You took part in it by giving your power to the shadow. That's why he's called a puppet master. And even the Incas and the Mayans returned, which was really cool. And it was my light. It was actually literally using my life force energy. So if you wonder why my body is like going through what it's going through now, I was like so hot and beautiful, and now I'm like, is because of all of that. Because I used my body. And they actually tore up my arm. My DM took part in allowing that attack. And there was a lot. They really truly did try to stop me. Everybody did. And that's why people have a hard time seeing who I am. And so it didn't just hurt me. It did hurt all of mankind. But God is good. God is very good. And love won. Love won. And I'm so happy to say that I left no stone unturned. There was no darkness that was undone, left behind. So we must heal it all. And when I took us into 70, God said, it's wonderful, we're going further, but it means more healing is required. Your chakra system should go from 7 base chakra system to a 10. So you got a lot of healing to do, my friends, because this is the new earth. Welcome. Hope to keep seeing you guys on the other side. So much love, my friends, and wait until this new eclipse happens. More powerful energetic shifts, and the Schumann resonance had a hard time reading it all. There's been a lot going on if you're looking at the right things. Until next time. Bye.